Hi everybody, this is Brian David Marshall coming to you from the Tournament Center at Pro Tour Dark Ascension. Behind me, you can get a look at the resume of Jon Finkel. To the left of me, you can get a look at Jon Finkel. Laying out in front of us, you can get a look at Jon Finkel's Delver deck. Although, kind of like, it's a little bit of a kind of Trojan horse to call your deck a Delver deck.
Yeah, well, first of all, I would not call it Jon Finkel's Delver deck.
Sure, this is Jon Finkel's cards. Maybe not even.
No, they are actually mostly my cards. I think these belong to Matt Sperling, and maybe these too. But they are my cards. If we had to give, this is actually Tom Martell's. If we had to give, I think, one person credit, it would be Sam Black. The guy's very bright. It was his idea that said, let's take the best cards out of the Delver deck, the swords. And let's take their 2-drops out, which are probably the second best cards. I mean, not really, the Legionnaires. And, let's go for this Spirit Phantasmal Image game.
So,
and then the real final breakthrough was from Jerry T and MJ.
That's Jerry Thompson and Michael Jacob.
Right, who we've been fooling around with some black before, and it's just too hard to get them out of work. Also, when you add Lingering Souls, you need more white, and most Delver decks weren't even playing enough white. And they had the idea that if you put in the Evolving Wilds, that you could get the white to work, enough black to flash back, still have your blue sources. Right. And it really fit in the deck because, Ponder, obviously it's good with that, but also the big hole in the deck after Legionnaire was out was that there was a lack of 2-drops. We have this being cast on turn 2, they do something, you can Snapcaster back one of your free spells, or maybe you can Image, but a lot of times in turn 2, you're going to be playing another 1-drop, you're just not exactly there, so having a little bit of this action doesn't hurt you as much as it would in maybe a more traditional Delver.
Right. Fittingly, Evolving Wilds was very much a late development for people at this event. A lot of people seem to discover that card at the tournament site, like really in the last 2 days before the event, kind of opening up those 3-color decks. So talk us through a little bit. So Delver Secrets, this is the title card right here in the deck.
Although maybe it would be better called Delver of Spirits. Sam likes to call us more of a Spirit tribal deck. We always refer to it as Delver, in large part because we all want to be in the habit. We didn't want people to know that we weren't playing a standard Delver deck. They don't have swords to worry about. That maybe our deck's a little bit slower. So we've always been calling it Delver, but it's as much a Spirit tribal deck. It's based around the captains with the souls.
So new cards from Dark Ascension, the Drogskol Captain. And the very popular Lingering Souls.
And the Dungeon Geists. If there was one card that I would say that in the future there's going to be more of in this deck, it would be Dungeon Geists. We had 2 in the sideboard. Like every matchup, I went to 3 or 4.
How late did this card get added into the deck?
Pretty early. That was one of Sam's. When Sam was like, okay, we're going to do Delver. That was one of the cards. He's like, this card's just really good. So that made it there. We really only kind of got in this direction a couple days before the Pro Tour. We've been trying lots of different decks, like a Heartless Summoning deck, green-white aggro deck, red-green aggro deck. Obviously Chapin, is there with all of, his control, his Grixis control. You knew before a tournament he was going to play it. Some of the Reanimator decks that are kind of controlling. And, Delver was just always pretty good. And so we wanted to play a Delver that, beat Delver, that did well against human decks.
Why does this version of Delver beat the more stock version of Delver?
Mostly because of these 3 cards here.
So Lingering Souls, Dungeon Geists, and Drogskol Captain. So this, most Delver decks are not running this, right? They're running Midnight Haunting.
Yeah, and when you saw, again, I just played against, Strati, right?
Strati, yeah.
And, it's kind of unfair when you're casting Lingering Souls and they're casting Midnight Haunting.
Right.
You just get, so many more spirits. The Delver's creatures are all small anyway. Then you have the captains, which not only make your spirits just eat their spirits, but now, you trade with Delvers. It's just a blowout if this guy's in play. And Dungeon Geists, it's like a Phantom Monster, Necrotal.
Right.
It's unreal.
From way back when we started playing. And
is there a new card that people say, like when they call things Necrotal now? It's like a Fiend Hunter Phantom Monster,
Well, Phantom Monster is probably a little obscure for a lot of people at home.
Phantom Monster was the original 3/3 flyer for 4 mana that was blue.
And it used to be awesome, but still kind of awesome. They just made it a little better. Yeah. So why a Divine Offering and a Revoke Existence why not, just commit to one or the other?
So the deck sees a lot of cards. You have Ponders, you have Probes. So if there's one or the other you really need, then you're more likely to get to it than maybe in like a regular deck. And really, they're very similar a lot of the times, right? So, you have a little bit more ability to get to the one that you need more. And also with Snapcaster Mage, the more different unique spells you have, almost the better. One of our early versions had, before we kind of went full spirit, had all of these, one-of spells, because then whatever you needed, you could just Snapcaster back. And it just makes, because, if you're playing against a deck where Divine Offering's good, you search for it, you get to it, and then, you get it twice. If it's a deck where Revoke is good, you search for it, you find it, you cast it twice. And most of the time when Divine Offering's good, if you get to the Revoke instead, all right, it's not quite as good, but it does the job.
Right. Only 2 mana leaks.
Yeah.
What was the decision there versus? I saw like Samuel had like 4 mana leaks and drew all of them against you in that game, and
Samuel, he must have had a different read on the matchup than we did. He's an excellent player. Maybe he was right, but the prevailing wisdom in our group was that mana leak is just not really very good in the mirror match. Also this deck taps out more. You have 5, Lingering Souls. You want to cast on your main phase. 3 mana,
Dungeon Geists, 4 mana flyer.
It's just we're almost kind of like pre-sideboard a little bit against other Delver decks, as opposed to against some of the bigger over the top like Wolf Run decks where mana leak's the best card.
Right.
Now, obviously Estradi feels differently because he had 3 mana leaks in post sideboard. I'd taken all mine out. So
it was very interesting. I saw game 1 you played I think either a Divine Offering or Revoke Existence, one or the other against him.
A Revoked.
You revoked his Runecaster Pike, and his eyes just kind of went like saucers, like main deck.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I didn't play against a single Sword of War and Peace all tournament, which actually really surprised me. The cards are very powerful. And it's sort of card, especially when you're going with like the full spirit route, like you can just like block and block and block. They get out a sword, they're just like coming through. Right. We have to stop it. It's sort of card that's hard for them to get into play, right? It's like they have to play it, equip it, then they don't want to get snagged and get chumped by a bunch of creatures. But it's still a card that we have to have a way to deal with, especially because our deck is maybe a little bit slower than some of the other Delver decks.
Right. Phantasmal Image, is this something that is unique to this configuration? We definitely saw it in Stradi's deck as well.
I've seen other ones. These 2 cards here are just great together. You have a captain. You just make another one. Now he's hexproof.
Right. They're both hexproof.
They're all both hexproof. This card's just unreal. They're people playing Thruns. You're like, okay. They're Geist, okay.
Right.
They play these huge fatties in Wolf Run, stuff like that. You're like, oh, Phantasmal Image, your 8-drop fatty, and I'll Vapor Snag yours. Go ahead. But when we had these, these really just became mandatory.
And you said you were pretty insistent on getting your contribution was making sure that you had 2 Moorland Haunts in the deck.
Yeah, I was actually pretty active throughout the whole process of the deck.
I'm teasing.
No, yeah. Well, no, often that's not the case. It's still, it's still, Sam's baby. He's the mom, and we're not really sure if like MJ or Jerry's the dad. But I'm like the older brother. The
shiftless uncle.
The shiftless uncle, yeah, exactly. Maybe I'm going Jerry Springer, but actually, he's the father, right? This card's just so good. I understand going from 3 to 2 because drawing 2 isn't, often that great. It was something reasonable there. Maybe I'd rather have a different spell. But 1, it's just so good, especially when you have this. That I was just like, no, we need 2. You want to draw it a lot. You don't have to be like just a random one.
And you have situations where you're just actually just spitting out a 3/3 hexproof spirit often enough.
Yeah.
Right. That seems to be like a great position to be in. Let's take a look a little bit here at the sideboard. So you got 2 more Dungeon Geists. Yeah. Where are those guys coming in?
I think they basically came in against everyone. It's like, against like the creature decks. They're just awesome. They're removal. They're big flyer. They're spirit. Against the control decks these days are mostly control and then play like some huge fatty. Then you're like, clone it, lock yours down. Yeah.
So we see another Phantasmal
Image comes in again a lot. Part of the problem is that you can't fit. We can't play an 80-card deck.
Right. Yeah. See a little counter magic package.
Yeah.
Another mix of enchantment and artifact removal.
Yeah.
What's the Celestial Purge for? It seems like I've seen a lot of single Celestial Purges.
I mean, there's just a lot of good black permanents. You know, there's obviously the Curse, which is really, I mean, especially good against this deck. You know, and those decks are also been like Grave Titans. You know, we had a Heartless Summoning deck that I don't think quite got there, but we were like, maybe someone did get there. Maybe some people playing like aggressive decks. I didn't really bring in very much against. I played against Tezzeret the second to last round.
Sure,
it was
yes,
good
okay.
against. Yeah, it was good against that. I didn't draw it, but you know, it was a good sideboard card. He had Bloodline Keepers, but
Surgical Extraction.
again, there are a lot of decks. They're on Burial Rites, big things out of the graveyard. And we put in 2 because we thought that if there was someone had like broken the format and we didn't, you know, and we just didn't see it coming, it was be something that was like that.
Well, the Haven Gold Lich deck is something
Exactly,
that people
Haven
are
Gold Lich,
scared of.
Heartless Summoning deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of gut shots.
Yeah.
And is that a mirror card or is that
I mean, Mirror comes against a lot of like the cheap creature decks, you know, probably against humans as well.
Champion of the Parish?
Yeah.
You kind of want that guy to die, and then Dismember, just sort of a case of emergency break class card.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's good if we're expecting like other Dungeon Geists. You know, it's a good removal spell. You know, we can actually pay the black, so it's not as painful life-wise.
Cool. So now you've got how many rounds to go in this tournament?
I have 2.
And what's your record?
12-2.
Excellent. A very good representation for Team Landscape Capital Management.
Yeah, you know, I'm sure they'll be very proud of me if they're actually paying any attention and know that I'm doing well. Yeah.
Awesome. And then so we'll let you get back to the tournament, and hopefully we'll see some more of you on camera either today or possibly tomorrow on Sunday.
All right, sounds good.
For Jon Finkel, this is Brian David Marshall signing off from the Tournament Center.